Hey, what's up, everyone? Dave here. Welcome to episode 64 of the Pocket Mastermind podcast. On this episode, I'm talking about overcoming imposter syndrome with David Alto and about his journey from job seeker to resume expert and now also a LinkedIn influencer. Some tips about how to be successful on the LinkedIn platform, but more importantly, we're really talking about that experience of overcoming imposter syndrome, which I know is a subject for everyone at some point in their lives, whether we tend to admit it or not. So I hope you get a lot out of this conversation. I certainly did. And if you did, please make sure that you share it with your friends, hit the subscribe button and like on all the platforms. It really helps me to spread the word and reach more people. So with that, let's get on with the show. Have you ever questioned why it is that some people seem to have everything they could ever wish for? Health, wealth, love and happiness, but others seem to lack all of these things. Why is it that a small minority manage to achieve greatness, but the vast majority fail to reach even beyond mediocrity? What are this small minority doing differently to everybody else? It can't just be down to circumstance. Billionaires rise out of poverty. Those questions have been in my head my whole life. And a couple of years ago, I decided to stop wondering and start searching for the answers so that I could help more people achieve greatness in their own lives. So join me and follow along as I uncover the secrets of the minority that the majority aren't taught so that you can apply them to your own life to achieve your own greatness and live the life you want and deserve. My name is David Bell and welcome to Pocket Mastermind. David Alto, welcome to Pocket Mastermind. How are you today?
I'm fantastic now that I get to, share my story with you and, your
Flattery.
listeners.
Flattery out the gate. I like that. That's very good. We were just talking a couple of minutes ago, and I think where we'd like to start is, you've made a transition that I think a lot of people would like to be able to do at some point, and go from the corporate world and into doing your own thing, and now you're working with other people and helping other people. So it'd be good to learn a bit about your story, the background really of where you've come from and what your experience has been like making that transition.
Well, first of all, just a little bit about me. I've always been a doer. So, I always take action upon something. I have an idea, whether it was my 9 to 5 job. I gotta go. We'll go back to very early 2019, and the company that I was with, we were worried about. Well, we were going to sell. They started franchising a lot of locations, and I was a multi-unit manager. I oversaw, multiple store locations, kind of in retail,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to be in control. So, I always had the LinkedIn account, but I got back on LinkedIn, started doing some networking, trying to find, my next career, because I was almost certain, and back 2012, I was eliminated from this same company. They eliminated 70 district managers, just some, cost cutting. So I didn't
Mm-hmm.
want this to happen yet again, because I obviously got hired back by the same company. But anyway, got on LinkedIn, started contacting recruiters, doing all the wrong things that you should be doing on LinkedIn, because recruiters just do not respond. And then I started, I was kind of always that person that go to David, can you help me with my resume? David, can you help me with my resume? And never paid, of course. And so on LinkedIn, I started just sharing little tidbits about just anything and everything. Could it just be about finance? I don't have no degree in that, but I have some best practices. So I just started sharing some things on LinkedIn, and I found that other people got value. So I started sharing some resume tips. And I started spending more time just on LinkedIn helping than looking for a job anymore. And then I had a very good partnership with our unemployment office here in town. And I started doing resume advice, LinkedIn advice, just for free there, volunteering a couple times a month. And just because it was so rewarding. And then, as I gained more knowledge about the LinkedIn platform, again, I just started sharing what I learned. And pretty soon I started, writing resumes and giving LinkedIn advice for free to anybody on LinkedIn that wanted it, really. And then it wasn't until somebody said, well, David, you provided a lot of value. I got to pay you at least something. And then, so I got my first client, I think it was early August of 2019. And then fast forward December 13th, left my, kind of corporate job there. And of 2019, the rest is history, coming up almost on a year today.
Amazing. So it's quite a, really, it was quite a short journey from, I guess you went from mindset of looking for a job at the end of 2019 yes. to mindset of going and starting your own thing by the end of the year, within a year, right? So
yes,
that's it's quite a big transition. Had you been thinking before that at any point during your career? Did you ever think, I'd quite like to do something for myself, or was this kind of quite a new idea that just kind of grew within that year?
Yes, I had no plans to do anything
Really?
like that whatsoever. So here's what transpired. I met some amazing individuals on LinkedIn, and they, maybe they saw themselves in me or whatever. But anyway, I met some big influencers. They were willing to either get on a video call or get on a phone call and just help me through it. And in September and very early October of 2019, again, doing my day job, working 55 plus hours a week, trying to find time to write resumes before I went to work. After
how did you find the time for all of the posting and everything else?
That's easy. I said hello to my wife in the morning. I said, good night at night, and that's about it. Because I knew in order to, prove that to myself and my wife, but mostly myself, that I could do this, I had to be able to determine if there was enough work out there for me, if people, would hire me on a regular basis. But September, October, I really suffered from, and I didn't know this at the time, but I suffered from imposter syndrome, which is, just the short definition. For me, I was gaining this new skill and talent within a short period of time. So I wasn't allowing myself to say I was a subject matter expert. Mm-hmm. So why should somebody, what I was thinking subconsciously is, why would anybody pay me to do this? Because I haven't been doing this for very long. I could consider myself an expert in what I did previously because I was in that industry I was in for over 18 years. So I could consider myself, an expert. But this new, a new ability, it was hard for me to want to charge because, again, I really thought, again, you got to be an expert, you got to be doing it a while or whatever. But so I got rid of that imposter syndrome. And then, you got to allow, if people do see value in you, then you have to embrace that and be able to say, well, yes, if other people are receiving value, regardless at the level that you're at, you can be considered an expert. So is when I embrace that, and it's not anything about arrogance, it's just embracing the fact that people find value in you. And you know what? We all have some hidden talents. We can all say we're a subject matter expert about something. That's what I started sharing on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is an amazing platform. I grew kind of quickly. I wasn't trying to grow. But when you're genuine on LinkedIn or any platform, people will see that, and they'll either like you or they'll move on to somebody else. But when they can see that genuineness in those videos, and posting video was tough in the beginning, and it still kind of is, because you're not, there's nobody on the other side of that
Exactly.
cell
Do
phone,
you know
right?
what? Yeah, I find I personally, I'm still trying to battle with the video idea. It's the piece I know I need to do, and it's the thing I'm least comfortable with. And I think it's the same for a lot of people. It's
Yes.
hard to. How did you?
For me,
How did? And what did you? How did you? Was it just a case of you doing it more and more to get more comfortable with it?
yeah, no, this is easy. So in early July of 2019, a gentleman by the name of Joe Applebaum, uh, LinkedIn guru, he he challenged a lot of his followers and connections to do 30 days worth of video. And I
Hmm.
remember that started on July 4th of 2019. So we had to go 30 days. That first one, second one, 30 straight days. And I ended up,
How do
I
you think
went,
of
I
30
went,
things to talk about?
that's, in the beginning, I guess the first maybe 20 days was okay for me,
Hmm.
because I always take my surroundings and I see something in my surrounding, and I go, ooh, that would be a good video.
Hmm.
A gift, whatever you call it. But after day 20, I really had to kind of like plan the next 10. I ended up going 70 days
Oh wow.
straight. And that really, then I had to quit cold turkey. I got to give myself a break. But that allowed me to just get somewhat comfortable. I think
Mhm.
it's still odd, but because again, I guess you kind of think, well, who wants to watch me for a minute or 2 minutes, right? Who am I? But again, if you can provide value, then darn it, why not? Keep those videos short in the beginning, maybe under a minute, and again, just speak to whatever you're a subject matter expert at, even if it's something that you don't do for a living, you can still be a subject matter expert at
Hmm.
it.
And do you think that once you started doing those videos, that's when your voice became louder, for want of a better phrase, on LinkedIn? Your following started to grow. It was would you think it was the video side of things that really made the difference? Because I think
Yeah.
a lot of us type away from time to time, and
Yes.
because it's the easy thing, right? But I think it just gets lost in the mire of all the other stuff, and video seems to be at the moment taking over Google search. It's taking over all the social feeds, that kind of thing. So, be interested to get your experience on that.
Yeah. People have to know you. And the only way they get to know you is see you. And
Yeah.
I don't edit my videos, meaning if I screw up in the first 10 seconds, I just delete it and start again. So I don't edit them. Now, sometimes I'll put some caption or maybe some cool effects or whatever, but most of the time I don't. But I don't edit them. One, I don't have the time to edit. I don't. I
So
got to write
time
some
consuming.
resumes and help people, right?
Yeah.
I don't have that time, but again, because it's only the content that matters. Nobody cares if you clear your throat. Even if you were to sneeze or something,
Yeah.
I don't, maybe not. I recently ate a hamburger on a video, but it had something to do with the overall concept. It did. It did. I
Just seeing how
promise
far
you.
you can push it, right?
Well, actually, yeah. Anyway, it had something to do with the overall video. But again, what I'm trying to say is, people align with people. They gotta see you to really be able to connect with you. Just, I mean, think of all the other people that are on social media that maybe that you follow them because when you see them, they whatever they say resonates with you, their energy or whatever. So I can tell you, listen, even to this day, it's still like somewhat odd,
Hmm.
but I've become more comfortable with it.
And what was it that what when you talked about your imposter syndrome, was when you say you kind of got to get over that? how did you go about that? Because I think there's a lot of people will probably experience the same kind of, I think that's probably the thing that holds most people back from actually
I
sharing
agree.
their voice and their experience, right? Because
I
like,
agree.
I agree with you, everybody has got some kind of, everyone's got their experience of their life which they could share with somebody else. And I think we get trapped in thinking that we have to be Tony Robbins, or you have to be, someone who's considered to be the top of the pyramid within whatever niche or kind of field that they're in. And yet there's already someone a rung on the ladder down, and there's always someone on the rung on the ladder up. How did you personally manage to overcome that imposter syndrome to allow you to kind of free yourself a bit?
Sure. For me, I think maybe the first time you suffer, and I'll even talk about the second time I suffered from it if we have time.
I think
Uh,
I think everyone suffers multiple times. I
oh,
think
yes.
people think, oh yeah, once you get over it once, that's it. You're never going to have it again. It's
It,
not
it,
true.
it, it, yes, it might go into remission, but it might come back. For me, it was I had people that saw it in me. And, I think initially you do because you don't see that you have it, right?
Hmm.
Most people won't. So you need some counseling. I'm not saying paid counseling, but it could be, it could be a friend, could be somebody that you're connected on with, social media or whatever. But for me, it was, these three individuals that reached out to me, that talked to me about really, it doesn't matter whether or not how long you've been doing it. If you provide value
Hmm.
in those words or services or whatever, then you need to embrace the fact that you can continue to provide it, to others. I think of it like this. Look, there can't just be one expert in every industry, because otherwise you would have to wait till somebody dies
Yeah.
to write for, and
And
then
then who decides who's the next expert?
yeah,
Do we have a
right.
vote?
I guess we have an election, right? Uh, so again, it doesn't matter. We would only have, again, one subject matter expert in everything in life, and we don't. Um, so again, you if you provide value, you are an expert, maybe a different level of expert, and that's okay. But again, people see value, own it, and just continue to provide. But yeah, video is powerful. Again, it just allows them to see you. And if you somewhat self-cure, if you cure yourself of imposter syndrome, just know that it can come back, but generally you'll be able to identify it and move on quicker.
It seems to come back as you learn something else, and then you decide you want to talk about it, or you feel like you want to share it. That's when it comes back again. And I think if you're on this kind of journey,
Mhm.
you are always learning, and you're likely to face it multiple times. I've definitely have over the years, and different, whether it be in a corporate role or doing what I'm doing now. It's still, like the same as you. It still comes along. And you think, should I say that? Shouldn't I say that? And it's good. It's interesting that these people that reached out to you. How do you think that scenario happened? Is that because you were engaging within their communities?
Yes. I mean, you know, when it came to LinkedIn, I found people, or comments, companies, hashtags that I wanted to follow that were just resonating with me. Usually on the lines of servant leadership, management, mostly leadership, and I continued to comment on these individuals' posts just because everything they said resonated with me. So, and then they could see it in my videos and just in my questioning. So maybe and all three of them, said at one point in time they had suffered from it too. So maybe they were, able to see it. And I think you can. I think you can see it in others, that even if they're not, they're just virtually,
Yeah.
friends or whatever. But and on LinkedIn, I have met so many individuals. Some of them I've met in person, but some I might never meet because of the distance. But I truly consider them friends because of the interaction that we have, and maybe we pick up the phone or have a video call or
Mhm.
whatever. So I do truly believe that you can make long-lasting relationships on some of the social media, especially LinkedIn.
Yeah, definitely. What's some of kind of the best practices for LinkedIn? How do you make LinkedIn an effective tool for building those networks rather than it just being another social media wall of posting? Because I think, I definitely, you and I met through LinkedIn because I made a comment and then you helped me out with a couple of bits and pieces, and that was really good. And that, so I see people like yourself who are very effective on LinkedIn all of the time, and then I see others where it's just a bit like, I don't know, they're just posts and there's not necessarily a real purpose or an end point to it. So how do you make LinkedIn effective for you as a tool, or for someone listening now as a tool?
Sure. I take LinkedIn into three pieces every day. I will, one, just go to my feed and engage in the people that mean a lot to me, right? Friends or just, or followers or whatever. So I'll engage because they mean something to me, and
Hmm.
I want to support them as well. But I might learn, from it, or get a new connection, because of, the interaction. So I interact. I just don't hit the like. I actually comment, provide some feedback. If other people did, then maybe I, encourage maybe a continued dialogue, because that's what you hope to get out of a post. And then, of course, then there's, my posts, but I make myself available after I post to make sure that I'm engaging with those people that comment, because those people that comment, that's kind of like the third piece, is not just putting out content,
Hmm.
but now engaging with the people that are commenting. They're taking their time, their precious time, to comment, to support you. So what are
Hmm.
you doing to, again, acknowledge them, and then interacting and learning this platform? If you take the premise of, learn something, then share it with the platform, right? And then continue to do that. And that's what I've done, here continually. And um, look, I didn't understand the premise of LinkedIn in the beginning, where, if I shared something about resume writing or LinkedIn every day, for a year, boy, somebody could take all that information and would never need to hire me. And that might be right, but nobody is going, to do that. So sharing best practices just makes you look more like an expert. So
Hmm.
very seldom do I get any business from my post, but my posts validate that I can do this, that, or the other thing when somebody's looking at hiring me versus, somebody else. And, building, I did a post about this the other day, is building relationships isn't about you and I connecting immediately and then me trying to sell you something, right? It's about
It
just,
seems to be the way a lot of people operate on LinkedIn, though.
oh yes,
I get bombarded on a daily basis. Hey, great to connect. Within 5 minutes, there's a sales pitch in my inbox.
and I think they don't, and maybe they are desperate. Maybe business isn't good, right? And I get
Yeah,
it, but the floodgates will open if you continue to nurture that relationship, and maybe a year from now we do business together.
yeah.
But if you did that a year ago, then you would get continually, but continued business. So you need to be patient. It is truly about networking, because now, I get referrals from people that don't even, you know, that I've never worked with, because they've just seen my content for so long that they refer people and see me as a subject matter expert, even though I've never done any work for them specifically. And that is the power of networking. That is great to have, 35, I think I have 35,000 followers as of right now. But that is the power, is because then, uh, you know, others refer you, business, and vice versa, because it becomes more of a community. And you don't have to spend hours and hours on LinkedIn. Maybe you take a few minutes off of Facebook, spend 30 minutes a day on LinkedIn in the beginning, until you figure out maybe you want to spend a little bit more. But it's I would say that the new person on LinkedIn, you go to the feed, you follow companies and industries and hashtags and people that really resonate with you, and you comment. It's never about liking or anything like that. It's actually commenting, interacting.
Yeah, I think it'd probably be easier if they got rid of that like button, and then everyone would have to interact with something else, because it would force more of an engagement. I think it's the easy option, isn't it, to hit like as you're passing through, rather than taking some time to give it some thought. Yeah, there's something else you touched on within that, and it's just suddenly just left my mind as I was talking to you then, that I was really interested in. But we'll come back to that. So what would you say is for someone who wants to start sharing their experience or their content, how would you go about what kind of some of the better approaches to actually posting? Because I think there's a bit of an art in the way in which you put forwards your ideas and your thoughts, rather than just blurting it out. It's kind of what have you learned since you've been doing this, in how you structure either your videos or your posts or that kind of stuff?
Sure. I do believe that you do need to have some type of structure, but then do what you want anyway. Meaning, have some thoughts, but again, I mix it up. Someday I do a video. Someday I do a, post with no pictures, post with a picture. Polls right now on LinkedIn are doing tremendous, and polls are a great way for you to follow up with those individuals regarding why they answered the way they answered. So polls are very engaging.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
Yes, and you can do it without sounding spammy or trying to sell them something. You can, but I would just look at what others are doing. I'm not telling you to copy, but share a best practice, right? Just share a quick little tip. Could be just a little sentence or something. Don't make some really long story, because nobody's going to read it. In the beginning, don't post a video that's more than maybe a minute in the beginning. Even me, when I post a video for 3 minutes, if somebody doesn't watch all of it, well, then LinkedIn doesn't think it's relevant. So you gotta keep them short, unless you don't care about the views or whatever on that, and that's okay too. But I would watch others, look at what other people are doing in the industry or the topic. You can always search for the topic that you want to talk about. And you're going to mess up in the beginning. It's not going to get many views. It's not going to get many likes in the beginning, and you just got to learn from it. You got to learn, the use of hashtags and the use of other things. And again, if anybody says out there that they know the algorithm, and they, it literally, it changes all the time.
Exactly. Also, you notice that despite on all of the platforms, there's always this talk around algorithms. You've got to play with the algorithms, and then you see, I know, large influence, say someone like Tim Ferriss, right? He can completely go against the opposite of what the algorithm's supposed to be, and the reach is enormous. So it proves the point that actually building up the reach and the consistency in the first place is far more important than the algorithm is.
Oh, I totally agree. Even somebody that, so I have, like I said, I have 35,000 followers. If I didn't use hashtags, it would not get seen much. Now, if you have 1.4, oh no, it wouldn't. I promise you. If you have 1.4 million followers, some of those individuals never use hashtags. Don't have to.
Yes. No.
Right. Now, sometimes they do, but yeah, it depends. Well, it depends on how active those followers and your connections are. You can max out. You can max out on 18,000, or excuse me, 30,000 connections, but have unlimited followers. but it's more important that those connections are engaged connections. If all 30, I don't have 30,000 connections, I have 17,000 connections, but if I had
17,000.
yeah, well, only um, we all start off at zero, right? So you just go at your own speed. But if all 18,000 of those were like super engaged, then maybe I wouldn't have to use some hashtags. But you don't know, you're not, you're always not going to connect with people that are, super engaged. But again, the more engaged your community, your network is, then yes, then potentially your reach will be. But you got to be patient. You're not going to go from 0 to 1 million overnight, I don't think, unless you're a high celebrity on another platform or just
Yeah,
in
exactly.
general anyway.
Jennifer Aniston joining
Yeah,
Instagram or
LinkedIn.
whatever. Yeah, yeah. I think then you've got a slight advantage that, or you're giving away a huge cash prize somewhere. That would certainly travel around the hashtags pretty damn quick, I think.
Yes.
Who's been the most inspirational or influential person for you on this journey?
Oh boy. Um, well, for me, and I recently wrote about it. Joe Applebaum, Corey Warfield, Anthony English. Those were the three gentlemen that helped me along that imposter
Mm-hmm.
syndrome in the beginning. I'm very grateful that they were willing to. At the time, I really saw them as influencers on LinkedIn, right? Like almost untouchable, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
trying to, like, if I was going to message, Jennifer Aniston, right? You said like on Instagram, she would message me back. But these individuals actually took the time, whether it was video or phone, to get on the phone and chat with me. And that was amazing. I've always been I feel that I've always been a very giving person. So when I see somebody struggling or maybe that could use just a little bit of advice or whatever, because I like their content and I want them to get more engagement, I am more than happy, whether it's to get on the phone or just provide them a little message or whatever, because I remember struggling, and it's okay. We're going to struggle when we're new. But again, I like to give back because, I see other people, doing it. And LinkedIn is a very giving community. The people that do respond to you are usually, pretty amazing people. And that's what I love about it. It's just infectious. And, when people give to you, you just, feel
Mm-hmm.
like doing the same.
What would you say on that kind of note, I suppose, is if you could go back to yourself back at the beginning of this journey, that's not even, I suppose, that long ago, right? 18, 24 months. Really, this journey's really started for you. But what have you learnt through that journey that you would then tell yourself if you were able to, as you were embarking on that?
Boy, I don't think I'd tell myself anything. Now I'll tell the listeners, something is, you know, I I always say I'm patiently aggressive, meaning that I'm patient. I know that things take time, right? But I'm aggressive about going after things.
Mm-hmm.
So, just did a post about it yesterday. Don't wait until January 1st to start a new diet, right? I'm going to start a new business. I'm going to start this. I'm going to start that. No, everything starts today. When you have the mindset that you're just going to start, and it's little baby steps, right? But you have to have the mindset. Successful people in life, the people out there that do great things, that's because they're doers. When they think of something, they put the plans in motion, and everything starts today. And that's what I did. I knew that I had to work my day job to pay the bills, but I knew I had to put in this other time to make sure that I learned these new skills, learned the platform, honed my skills so that I could, in fact, up and leave and still do very, well for my family. So again, I always tell people to be patiently aggressive. You got to be patient because you're not going to become an overnight success, or that business isn't going to flourish right from day one. But you need to be aggressive with the things that you're doing to um, you know re just like 2020, right?
Yeah.
Some of the companies that are going to make this through this, it's because they were quick to change with change. We all know what happened this year, right? And some companies are going to make it and some aren't. Now, some of those might not have anyway, and I'm talking about the larger companies,
Yeah.
but the ones that that knew that they had to get through this, but what is that other end going to look like? How are we going to reinvent this? So what I always tell people is, if you're going to do anything, own it, do it, start today, but be patient and know that, and you need some help. So reach out, and LinkedIn is a great place for that. I know that anytime I want to, hire somebody to do this or have a question, I just create a post and I get so many amazing people to help answer those, questions. So I don't think I'd change anything. I know how to use hashtags a little bit better now than I did, a couple of years ago. So, because I thought just people didn't like me in the beginning, but it probably wasn't the case. And you got to kind of struggle through that to learn all that. But yeah, you have to be patient, but you have to start doing stuff today.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think there's this weird human psychology that's always going to be, you got to pick a day, or it's a New Year's resolution, or think it starts next week. Oh, this week, forget this week. What? Yeah. So that's time. You can't get that. You can't get that stuff back. And so I couldn't agree more. Get cracking now, because you just, all of that time that you wait and you're just putting off until January. What's the point? You're not going to gain anything from that. What would you say if you? I always like try and get book recommendations. So, what would you say would be, if you could gift everybody listening now one book? What would that book be?
Boy, I'll go to the book that I've read probably 30 times, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It wasn't my first leadership book, but it was my first real leadership book that I really took and owned. And the audio version is amazing. I've listened to it a ton of times. I used to travel a lot for work, so I used to listen to that a lot. But the reason I like that book so much is because since I've read it and listened to it so much, I can see who it might align with somebody else. So in my previous day job, that was always a must read for a manager, but they always had to do a little book report with me, just so, because if you can put it on, if you can put it on paper after you've read it, you can probably take away some stuff. But I really like that book because it made me look at leadership a little bit differently.
Yeah, I think I've read that book a couple of times, and I think the two things that really stood out for me were around the weekly planning, which is a massive, I think that makes such a big difference. And I think up until that point, I was definitely not doing anything like that. And that really made a big difference for me personally. And the other thing was really seek first to understand and then be understood. And so many times do we just go and bombard him with our opinion. And it aligns very much with, I saw Simon Sinek do a talk, and he mentioned that there was somebody asked Nelson Mandela a question of what was the greatest thing you learnt from your father, because his father was a head of a tribe, and he was a tribe elder. And he had gone to, when Nelson Mandela was a kid, he'd gone to the tribe meetings with his dad, and they had all sat around in a circle. And he said, "What was the biggest thing you learnt?" And he said, to be the last person to speak. His dad was never the first person. He'd always get everyone else's opinion first, and then cast his based on the context of what everyone else thought. Because his theory was, 9 times out of 10, the answer is already sitting with somebody else. You don't need to be giving it to them. And I thought that was, that aligned very much with the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People in my mind.
Oh yes, and that is hard to do, because as leaders, when we hear that person on the other, the other side of that table, maybe having a meeting or whatever, we want to hurry up and help answer that, right?
Yeah.
So that's really hard, because we're going to forget, so I need to blurt it out, right? But yes, you do learn so much more about this, from that individual, and you're really giving that person, the attention they deserve. So I always just asked permission to write notes during that time, so I don't have to interrupt. I can jot down a little note that we're discussing. But yeah, I think if you're any type of leader, that is a great book to kind of encompasses everything and anything. And like the author reads it on the audiobook, and I just love that, because then you get to hear their passion.
Yes.
And I think I get more out of it, at least for me.
Yeah, I first listened to the audiobook as well when I was going back and forth in the car to and from the office back when I was in my corporate job. And you're right, Stephen Covey, he does it so well. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore, which is a massive shame. But he was so passionate about his mission with that, and there's something that the purpose of Pocket Mastermind is all around that. It was inspired from Napoleon Hill, the definite major purpose, and the same thing that Stephen Covey talks about is having that end in mind. It's what is the purpose, and I think if everyone could find that driving force, that thing, then passion and excitement, and everyone would have more motivation day to day in life. And that's I can't remember who said this, but I heard someone say there's no such thing as lazy people, they're just people without a purpose. And that's an interesting point of view, right? If you've got something to chase after, and you must experience this since you've been doing what you're doing, is that you can't wait to get up, and the day seems to go really, really quickly. So you got so much to do, so many ideas and so many things you want to get done, and it just moves so much faster. When I was in my job, that wasn't the way it was, right? The day was a hell of a lot slower. Now I don't have enough time. I had too much of it back then. So it's an interesting transition. What would you say has been the biggest learnings, lessons, or anything else that you would share with somebody listening now before we kind of come to the end of the conversation?
I don't think you think of this too much when you're younger, but again, the older that you get, that, time is extremely valuable, right? Money is renewable, but time is not renewable. So do the things that you like, find ways to cut time, whether that's, hire a virtual assistant, or don't do the things that waste time. But, I make every day, I make sure that when I wake up, that I have a smile on my face. I hope to impact somebody's life, that day. And I get a lot of reward, out of that. And again, we only have a set amount of time. So make the most out of your time, but I'm gonna still go to that, patiently aggressive, but you still have to, you can't ignore the other things, in your life. Be patient, it will come. But if you have to work, a couple jobs, or you have to do your side hustle a little bit, again, can't wait until January 1st to start things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that's it. Again, money's renewable, time isn't. Be patiently aggressive, and ask others. Don't struggle through life regarding anything. Reach out to people, and they'll be empathetic, and they probably maybe, none of us are perfect, so they may have suffered something from that, and can align with what you're going through. So reach out to others. People are willing to help.
Great wise words to end. Thank you so much for giving up your time. where can people find you? Obviously LinkedIn, but point people in your direction.
Find me on LinkedIn, either, follow me or connect with me, send me a message, or just, watch my content. If I post daily things regarding resume tips, LinkedIn, beating the resume applicant tracking system. And from time to time, you might see my cute puppy make an appearance too, because LinkedIn doesn't have to be that boring business website that people think it is. So many people are leaving, Facebook and coming over to LinkedIn, not by the millions, but still don't mind occasionally, seeing that cute puppy picture, or inspirational. And again, people want to get to know you. So it's okay to share as little or as much as you want. But yeah, just go over to LinkedIn and find me. That's where I'll be.
Great. Amazing. David, thank you again for giving up your time. I hope everyone has got as much out of this as I certainly have. And for anyone listening now, head over to pocketmastermind.com and you'll find links to David and all the other information that was discussed during this conversation. David, thank you again very, very much, and we'll speak again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this conversation. If you enjoyed it and you'd like to hear more similar episodes, head over to pocketmastermind.com, where you'll also find the links mentioned in this conversation. And if you haven't done so already, please leave us a review. It will really help us to get our message out and let more people know about these episodes. So leave us a review, leave us a rating, hit the subscribe button, and please share with your friends. Until next time, thank you again for listening.